Good morning, designers. How are you? Very excited to be here with you today. And we have a very special thing happening. So excited and so honored to have Layla from Design Shop Interiors joining us. So before we get started, just want to make sure that you can see me and you can hear me. And we'll kick it off with an awesome introduction to Design Shop Interiors. While you're all here and getting acquainted, please go ahead and tell us where you're from, and we'll give people a couple minutes to tune in live. And I will tell you a little bit about Design Shop Interiors. So about a year ago, I started Instagram stalking Layla and DMing her and messaging her and kind of just watched and followed her growth over the last year. So I actually reached out to her and said, hey, I would really love to be able to interview you and do something online so we can have our audiences join us from the East Coast, the West Coast, wherever you may be, to hear how Layla is killing it. And without further ado, I'll tell you a little bit about Design Shop Interiors if you don't already know. And if you aren't following them, you can follow them on Instagram at Design Shop Interiors. Layla is hilarious on Instagram, so I highly recommend following them. After spending more than 10 years designing on the side in 2014, Layla started Design Shop Interiors at her kitchen table. She was armed with little more than some solid construction knowledge, great taste, and really, really big ideas. Cut to today, where in less than 5 years, DSI has become a team of 10 women with 2 subdivisions specializing in construction and renovation and the home design portion of her business. Layla, like the majority of her team, is self-taught and has never taken a design class in her life. She attributes DSI's success to the collaborative environment she's fostered and the team spirit that they embody. Egos are checked at the door, and Layla does happen to have a very cute light pink Dutch door, so you can check that out on her Instagram. Each DSI lady has their own special talent, and Layla truly believes that layering all those talents together not only produces the best results, but is what has made Design Shop Interiors the successful bespoke design firm that it is today. Well, many designers choose to put their name on the front door. That never felt right to Layla. Looking back, she thinks it's because DSI was always meant to be a collection of talented women working together, creating and making design magic. So I think that you can all hear me. I think you can all see me. And now we're going to have Layla pop on live with us. And I'm going to kind of run through and ask Layla a bunch of questions. And if you do have questions, it is important that right below where it says ask a question, there so I can make sure to see all of your questions. Good morning, Layla. How are you?
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm a little nervous.
It's just me and we're having a conversation. So, and also I forgot to mention, I was kind of talking in my introduction about you and about DSI, about how I've been Instagram stalking you for well, probably before you actually knew I was Instagram stalking you, but then started messaging you. And Layla and I finally actually met in person just only 2 weeks ago. So
That's
very exciting.
Were you Insta stalking me before I joined Ivy, or was it after?
I would think it was a little bit before you joined Ivy, and then I met your team in Vegas in January, and then the real stalking came because I was like, what is this up to? What is this chick up to? What's happening? And I think that, like I said in the introduction, watching you got your team grow on Instagram has been just not that your business is growing on Instagram, but just even watching your following grow on Instagram and watching your team on all the projects. I mean, how many projects do you have going on right
now? It varies. We are a large team, and I would say at any given time we can have up to 40 active clients at a time. Jobs start and then they kind of quiet down as you're waiting for things. And so scheduling and finding that sweet spot of clients is definitely a challenge, and we're still working that out.
Of course. And as Ellie just said right now, if you guys have questions for us, and I know you're going to have a lot of questions, but I get to ask the questions first because I have some dying questions for you. And then we'll get to those questions at the end of our session. And just to kind of recap what we're going to be talking about today, a couple of key topics that I reached out to the design community and they wanted to know: how to structure your billing process, how and when to scale your business, and ways to make technology work harder for you. I think that over the last year especially, I've watched you kind of adapt and shift and change. And we want to know how you do it all, how you have a husband, how you have a son, how you have a dog, how you have all of this amazing team, how you've made it happen. But we'll break it down kind of in organized sections so that our audience kind of can stay on track, and we'll condense it to about 30 minutes, and then we'll do our Q&A at the end.
Okay.
Perfect. So first questions first, setting goals. What goals did you set for yourself in 2018, and how are you holding yourself accountable to these goals?
Okay, so I have some notes, so forgive me as I kind of like look through.
Love it.
The biggest goal that we set for ourselves this year was to buy our current studio. We moved into the building that we are in, the location, a year ago, and it was a lease with an option to purchase. Okay. And we should be closing on our building this week. So we will own our location, which is unbelievable. Another one was to hit that 10,000 on Instagram sweet spot, which we don't buy followers. I don't subscribe to that. Like, I want an engaged, organic following that's here because they like to be, want to be. And we did that a few weeks ago, and we actually, not only did we hit the 10,000, but once we hit that sweet spot, I'm now at 11.6 in like a matter of weeks. Okay. So that was a huge one for me. Obviously, influencer opportunities really open up when you hit that 10,000, and you know, that's a whole other conversation on what that can do for your business. That was a big one. And then the two that I would say are in process. I have been sort of feeling the retail bug for a little while. Okay. As you grow your following and you have beautiful photos, like I can't post a photo without, you know, a ton of DMs saying, where's that from? Where did you get that? And, you know, I'm a business. I'm here to make money. I have a huge payroll. So all the different revenue sources that I can tap into are beneficial to us. So I've been feeling that little bit of a retail bug and trying to explore what could that look like for us, not necessarily opening a store, but how creative could I get to start to tap into that? So we did that, and we hosted our first pop-up shop. We turned our parking lot into a store. And there's another one on the way. And then the other part of that would be e-commerce, which, you know, my husband, and he's in the tech world, and that's what he does. And so he's really leading the charge on that. And according to him, we should be up and running soon enough with Shopify and all that. So those are the two outstanding ones.
Okay. Okay. Amazing. So that's a lot of big goals for you. I feel like accomplishing one of those things in 2018 would have made me feel successful, but you are next level. Like, I was texting Layla the other day.
I'm insane.
I'm insane. And I feel like it's a lot to juggle at one time, especially when you have a payroll as big as yours and you have that many people on your team. So what's kind of your, what does that look like for you? Do you feel like you're constantly working, or like how have you really been able to stay on track to hit those goals?
Yes, I do. It takes a certain personality to do this, and it's not for everyone. And if this isn't your ideal situation, that's okay. I don't think that anybody should like look at our story and think that that's the standard that they should hold themselves up to. Like, you got to figure out what your business is. Where do you want to be in the story? And this has been a very organic path for us. Like, I haven't forced any of this. I've just sort of opened myself up to accepting what comes our way and working really hard. And I do just have that kind of crazy personality. And yeah, sometimes I feel like this weekend in particular, I actually hit a wall. Like, I really hit a wall this weekend. And like, even my husband, everyone was like, you look tired. And so I just checked out this weekend, and I feel better, but it's a lot. And like, as far as like holding ourselves accountable, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm really good explaining that. when I say I'm going to do something, I just do it. And I don't think I have a strategy. The only place that I don't do it is diet and exercise.
The important stuff, right? Like you don't make time for yourself. But I do say, and I've had many conversations with this same topic with designers. And I'm the same way. Like I get obsessed with work. Like I can't even control it. It's really a problem. That's why I feel like when I was texting you earlier this weekend, and I was like, you're crazier than me, because once I get on my mind on something, it's really hard to stop and to turn off. And I feel like you really do manage your own Instagram account, and Instagram is always there. And I've kind of finally this year, in the last 6 months, personally just put up like, whoa, like I have to like only follow a couple of people on Instagram and only look at it for 20 minutes a day. Otherwise I get into this sucked in and you can't stop. So I do think what you said is amazing, but it's also important to have that balance. Like you said, you realize that you were kind of in over your head this weekend and you took a step back, and now you come into Monday morning a little bit refreshed. Yeah. My question that I've been dying to know, so because you're always on Instagram and you're always posting and you always have a lot of content, and I'm going so out of order on our questions, but I'm just going back to like this, your goal of like hitting 10,000 followers and why it's important. I think that was a really good breakdown to not only to have the swipe up feature once you hit 10K, but also to open up the influencer opportunities. But if you're on the job all the time, how do you manage your Instagram all the time? Like that's insane to me.
It can be difficult. And honestly, I'm distracted very easily. I'm like shiny objects. And so if I'm in a zone and something pings me, it breaks my concentration. So I do try, turn the phone over and respond to messages later. So I do one post a day on just our regular feed, and either do it first thing in the morning or later at night. And I am making a conscious choice that I need to respond to people. This is about social engagement, and people are asking me questions. And part of what part of their algorithm is when a post is posted, the more engaged it gets quicker. So you don't want to ignore all your comments till the end of the day. I wish I had a magic answer, but no, it's hard. And as many things as I give out to my team and I delegate, Instagram is mine. It's my voice, and it has to be. Stories, our stories have gotten very popular, and I like to say that I am a prolific storyteller on Instagram, and I do really like it. It's fun to like share the journey of every day, like what we're doing. But yeah, it's a time suck. There is no magic answer. Like we should have a part-time marketing coordinator. We did, but she went to have a baby. Okay. And so while Instagram is my voice, at least when she was here, we would send her the content for stories, and she would, post that throughout the day. But right now we haven't hired a new one. And so I am doing it all. And yes, it is a time suck.
And that's funny because a lot of people ask me like, Risa, like, is Instagram something that I should focus on? I think everybody needs to make a decision of what works for you and what your journey is, just like you said earlier. But I feel like a lot of what people do outsource when it comes to outsourcing might be CAD drawings, but it's also usually Instagram. And even like you said before, you did have some help. That's why I've been watching you, and I know that it's you doing it. I'm like, okay, you're crazy. But
I would never outsource Instagram. Instagram is huge for our business. I don't do any paid advertising. I get projects with 7-figure budgets from people following us on Instagram. So I can't stress how important it is. And to outsource it, I don't know, like if my voice on Instagram, I like to say that sarcasm is my love language. And I don't even I don't have an editorial calendar. I literally post what's happening in my life that day because that feels authentic to me. And that's what engages people. And I just can't outsource that.
Yeah, that's where it's different for you, I think that that's so amazing that that's been one of your goals and helped your company grow to this insane number of people. Now, in that, when we talked about a couple of these pain points, what about all the other stuff that you do besides just the Instagram? What are the pain points that you face, and how do you deal? Like you talked a little bit about time management, but can you talk about that a little bit more about like how you've kind of set it up where you're really just managing the construction side of your business? Who do you trust to do like the design decor side of your business? And with issues that come up, how do you remedy these situations? I'm sure you've had a lot of different dilemmas that you've had to deal with, but just give us a couple examples.
Okay, so our business is structured in that there's basically two divisions: renovation, construction, decorating. Angie and I are the senior designers in renovation and construction, and we each have a junior designer that is paired with us. And our junior designers do AutoCAD and SketchUp and all that great stuff, and they're super helpful. Whitney and Ashley are the senior designers in decorating, and they have a junior designer, Liz. I think the first rule of thumb for me with time management is you hire good people who are good at what they do, and you let them do their jobs. I can't micromanage everyone. I am lucky that I have a team that is incredibly talented, and I let them shine. And we are very collaborative. You know, this is an environment where, you know, it's like, hey, what do you think about what I'm doing here? Am I crazy? Is it going to work? And sometimes we disagree, but when we disagree, it's like, look, I know what you produce. I know the work that you're capable of. If you're feeling it and I'm not, I don't have to be right. Like, you do what you do. So that's kind of the biggest thing with time management is I can't do everything for everybody, and I don't need to because they're so awesome. One of the biggest pain points for us, and I think this is industry wide, and I see it all over the Ivy Facebook page: how do I charge? What about hours? You know, I'm here to tell everybody you are not the only one. I don't care how many reiterations of how we charge and minimums. It's just constantly a work in progress. When I am done with this webinar today, I have a meeting with my operations manager and Angie, because we're having issues with billing and minimums and stuff in our construction division. So it's just a constant evolution. And I don't know that there's a perfect answer. I don't know that it's ever going to go away. I am willing to listen. I always hear our clients. If they have an issue, I will hear them, and I can take criticism and I can recalibrate to find something that's going to work for them and us.
How do your clients deal with, so, you know, some clients really want the principal at every single meeting. And obviously, you know, my love obsession with Whitney, but Whitney's amazing. And I think all of your design team, everybody on your team is really talented and really amazing. And we get to know them through the way that you've presented your business on Instagram, where, like I said in your bio, it really is a collective of women working together. Have you ever had an issue where somebody's like, no, like, I don't want to meet with Whitney, I want to meet with you because you're the principal of the company? Or do your clients really understand how you roll?
It is rare, but it has happened, and I would not work with those clients. When I shout my team from the mountaintops, and everybody knows who they get recognized. Like, you know, when they'll be in Home Goods and get, you know, we call it a celeb sighting, but everybody knows who they are. They know what they can do. So I think, I mean, people call and say, hey, I'd like Whitney on my job, or I'd like Angie on my job. And that makes me so happy. I, as the principal, have every new business call. Not a call comes in this office that I don't have the initial conversation. And we start with a consultation. If it is possible, I attend every consultation. So if Whitney's going to be the lead on the job, or Angie's going to be the lead on the job, if I can do the consultation with them, I will. Because I do think it's important that I am the business owner and they feel like I'm there for them and I'm listening. But in no way is it because they think I have a talent or I'm better, because I'm not. Like, we all have these different things, but I think there's something to be said for the business owner. And I always make myself available when there are tough conversations to have. That's up to me to have them, not my team. So everybody knows that I'm always available, but again, it's time management. I can't be all places for everyone.
Yes, that makes sense. And what was it like when you first started delegating to different team members? Because I know that that's a big question. I have a lot of designers hitting me up personally with how did you feel comfortable delegating and having your name? Yes, I know it's Design Shop Interiors, but it's still, you're the principal, of giving that kind of power away and trusting that you would know that your team would be able to roll out the same outcome, the same design, and the same aesthetic.
Better. I want them to roll it out better than me. I want them to be better than I am. That's actually a really funny question, because it truly does go back to the core of starting this company. Whitney was the first person that I ever hired. And at the point that I hired her, I thought I wanted admin help. because I was finding myself getting caught up in paperwork and not being able to design and, you know, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So when I hired her, I remember thinking to myself, well, they're hiring me. Like, how do I allow somebody else to design when they're hiring Layla? And long story short, a guy wanted to hire us. We couldn't take the job. I was too busy. And Whitney, who'd been spinning her wheels doing stupid stuff that we laugh about now, said, why don't you let me do it? And I was like, whatever. Okay. And she knocked it out of the park. Like, and it was just this moment, this total epiphany where I was like, oh, okay, we can do this together. And it doesn't have to just be me. And truly from that moment on, I was able to just let it go. And, you know, she will laugh though when she hears this. She's better at decorating. I'm better at construction. And early on, I actually tasked her and Ashley with specking tile for, it was a little flip house. And the tile that they came back with was like for 4 different houses under one. And I looked at the 2 of them. I'm like, you're going to stay in your lane.
Oh my God, so funny.
So.
And, you know, I think it's interesting. And, you know, I think that you've kind of pivoted your business a lot in the last 5 years, because that was 5 years ago that you found Whitney, right?
4. I think it was 4. I think so. I really launched my business in January of 2014.
Okay.
And I think it was February 2015 that she came on board. And then it was kind of quickly thereafter, everybody else.
How are you finding this team? Because that's another one that I also get, like, Risa, I need an assistant. I need this. I don't know. I created this community of designers where they really trust me. I have actually a couple clients like in San Francisco where like, you know, everybody, can you find me this? And unfortunately, I'm getting to that age where I'm a little bit older, and I feel like a lot of my friends and a lot of my contacts are kind of deep into their careers. But how have you been able to find such a good team in your area?
So I'm a little bit of a hippie, and I will say that there is a part of me that believes that literally the stars are just lining up for this. And how does the universe get them to me? Instagram's a big one. Mm-hmm. It's also, you know, friends of friends. Like when Ashley came on board, Whitney knew Ashley.
Okay.
And so that's how Ashley came. And then our bookkeeper was the next person that we added. And I put something out on Instagram that we were hiring, and she actually was the retired mother of a friend of mine.
Okay.
And then I decided that I kind of needed an assistant assigned to me. And I knew of a girl that I follow on Instagram. She wasn't a designer, but I thought she had a really cute eye, and I thought I could work with it. Okay. She is Nicole, who does our photos. So if you follow us and you see those beautiful photos, that is Nicole. Okay. So she was working part-time for me in a design capacity. Separately, I was her client for photographer. That's again, a whole other story. Okay. But truly, like, sometimes I will put a call out to the universe, and I'm like, this is what I need. And they come.
That's amazing. That's just telling you on a very real level, very unheard of. And you're very lucky. And I think that especially because, you know, the area that you're in, and it's great and it's booming and it's killing it. You're based in Sacramento, but you have clients kind of near and far, just for those of the listeners that are tuning in. And I think that there's a lot of work happening there, and to be able to scale and grow your team, you need the people. The people are essential, right?
They're the most important thing. The most important, if you said, what's your number one thing in Design Shop? It's my people. Mm-hmm. You take care of your people, and they will take care of you and your business. And like you said in kind of my intro, I have fostered this environment where we are in it together. This is not the Layla show. And if you follow us on social media, you will know that. And I wouldn't want to take credit for something that I didn't do. And they feel really good when they get credit for what they did. So I think that's the number one thing. If you're looking to hire people, you need to be I don't even like to use the word boss. I call myself the tribal leader. I'm a leader. I am not a boss, but you need to be a great leader, and you need to set the example.
Okay. So advice, if you were to give somebody advice when they're like in this next level of their business and they really want to hire maybe even just a design assistant and they're ready to start delegating tasks, would you recommend, and let's say they have an Instagram following of 5,000 people and maybe not as active and they just don't have the time for Instagram, what would you recommend for them to find kind of this design assistant if Instagram wasn't necessarily their number one route?
Maybe Facebook. I think any kind of social media, you're going to have a farther reach. Start tapping into the people that you know. Everybody knows someone. If you have a little bit of a local following, any way that you can figure out, you know, are you going to Pottery Barn in West Elm? Are you talking to the sales girls? Like, is there someone? I keep my eye out. I really try to follow all the younger up and coming designers. Like, just start to pay attention to the people who are in that industry around you. It could be, you know, the cute young girl working at West Elm.
Yeah. Okay. I like, that's really good advice. And it really doesn't matter, like you said. And I think somebody asked a question of, do you hire designers with experience or someone you can train? I think your emphasis hasn't been like finding somebody with experience. It's been finding somebody that jives with you and can carry your energy and your essence. And that person can meld into a designer or a project manager or your photographer or, you know.
Well, and it was in the beginning. I will say now, though, like we've reached a level, like Angie, for instance. So Angie's the other senior. So she and I are in the construction renovation division. I believe you need to have a tremendous amount of knowledge in construction and renovation and how all those components work. Like, I'm not a contractor. I'm not out there swinging a hammer, but I understand the process. And there are designers that I see that I think are great decorators. And then all of a sudden I see them being involved in renovations. And I'm like, oh my God, because so many mistakes can be made on your end if you don't understand things that cost a lot of money. So I'm always really hesitant. So when it came to Angie, I literally was like, I need another me. And what I meant by that is someone who had that understanding, had that experience. And then long story short, here comes Angie. She had years of flipping their own houses and designing custom homes, and she's self-taught. She didn't know AutoCAD or SketchUp like me. But now we've reached a point where when we hired our junior designers, I was like, okay, I do need AutoCAD and SketchUp. So as your business progresses, you start to get a little bit more specialized in who you need.
That makes sense. Have you thought about getting your GC license so that you
No.
That's not part of your game plan? Not part of your game plan. Okay. And then speaking of outsourcing, what do you outsource, or do you really bring everything in-house now?
We don't really outsource anything. It's all in-house. I'm a little bit of a control freak. And just, you know, and things happen real time. And if I got to look at Erin, who's my junior designer, if I need her to change gears immediately because I got to redraw cabinets or rethink something, I like having those things at our fingertips.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let's ask you the really daunting question about creating a profitable business model. I know you touched on this and it's an evolution, but do you think that markup or purchase fee is dead? Are you transparent about this? How do you speak to your clients? Because like you said, even when people are DMing you on Instagram, you're running a business. These are your sources. You go to market, and I know you go to market and you connect and you're getting the pricing that you're getting. That's part of your business. So what does that look like for you?
Okay, so no, I don't think markup is dead because you're entitled to make a profit. If our billable hours don't pay for this show, trust me, like we have to sell product. So I think it's a little complicated in that for us, it is important that I hold all my own accounts. I don't go purchase through purchasing agents, but as a larger design firm that does the volume that we do, I'm able to make whatever minimum orders I need to make. And I hustle to make them. You know, I didn't walk in my first year at market, I went to Vegas. I literally walked into my first showroom and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what wholesale is. Cut to now, you know, last year we went to High Point and I walked into Lee Industries and I said, what do I need to do to open my account? And they go, oh, you have to order through the San Francisco showroom. And I'm like, nope, I don't do that. I'm like, what's my minimum order? And they said 15,000, which 15,000 on a wholesale order, that's a big order. And so Whitney and Ashley and I spent about 5 hours in that Lee showroom calling our clients, going through everything, and we came up with that order. So if I would say to smaller designers, get a very tailored list of vendors that you want to work with that encompass pretty much everything you need so that you can do a higher volume. And even if you're not able to open with stocking dealer or whatever the lowest price is, work your way up to it. Okay. The bigger the discounts, the more money that you're going to make, and you have control over your accounts. And you then start to develop better relationships with those companies, which open other avenues. So that's number one, is always try to carry your own accounts. Number two, losing my train of thought. Be honest with your clients. I am a no bullshitter, quite frankly. And I don't ever want to, just one. I don't ever want to do something that I feel like I couldn't be honest with the client about. Okay. I take every new business call. I qualify our clients. I set expectations. I explain clearly how we charge and what that looks like. And we do charge by the hour. And when it comes to the sourcing of materials and things like this, if we get a retail trade discount, that 20% you get at Pottery Barn or West Elm, I give that to the clients. It's interesting to me being on the Ivy board because I've never been a part of a group like that. Since I started this, I've never really talked to other designers like this, and it's really fascinating to me. And sometimes I read some of the comments and I'm like, that's just not how I choose to run my business, because I feel like the client, there needs to be some perceived value for them. They don't want to feel like they're getting raked over the coals. So if I'm going to buy you something at Party Barn and I get 20% off, I'm going to give you that. Don't care. Okay. When it comes to wholesale, which is the bulk of our sales, like our upholstery and things like that, I split our wholesale discount with our clients. Okay. And it's interesting because I ran numbers one time. I know that I've heard a lot of designers will say, well, I mark it up 35%. Well, if you take the wholesale cost of something versus the MSRP, and you actually split that discount in the middle, you're making more. Okay. And it sounds really good to tell a client, I'm splitting my wholesale discount with you. Mm-hmm. And I tell clients, all these little discounts and things help offset the cost of us, our hourly. I'm getting paid my hourly. And, sometimes I see comments on these boards where they're like, don't discount yourself and you're cheapening yourself. And I don't feel that way. I feel like people in the day and age of the internet, I don't really get shopped. I will tell you that. I also see that comment a lot. It happens occasionally, but I feel like I set the expectations up front enough that the clients feel like they're getting a value. And my girls have carte blanche to order wholesale or order retail. If there's something retail that is a better fit for that job, then I want them to buy that. I'm not going to put something second or third best in a project because I can mark it up more. Okay. I think that's sacrificing our work. So I think that kind of whole attitude will help you avoid a lot of those problems with people.
I like the idea that you really set the expectation and you've never been shopped, that you are very rarely shopped by your clients. But how do you set that expectation? Is it like a branded guide in the beginning of the project when they sign the contract, or how do you set that expectation with your clients?
I have an initial conversation with people, and then I have like a little 2-page that kind of explains our pricing. Okay. And what's really funny is I only in the last maybe 6 months-ish created that document. I always kept that information like to myself. Like, I don't want to send this out because this is proprietary to my business and blah, 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 blah. And then I just finally reached a point where I was like, I don't care who knows. Like, if I'm going to send you that PDF and you want to send it to 800 people, I don't care. If other designers want to emulate our charging model, more power to you. Now, I'm confident in my business and what we do, that I'm not worried about that. But you have a conversation, you connect with that client, you set the expectations. I follow up with that little 2-page document so they can really read it, because it's different for me to be spitting out a ton of information than them to sit down and read 2 pages. Then if it all is going well, we book that initial consult, we come in, we talk about scope of work, we go over it again. And then my contract is like 10 pages. Okay. And I outline everything in my contract. And we use DocuSign, and they have to initial all the different parts. Like, here's what you can be expected to charge for freight. Here's why you have to have a receiver and what those fees look like. So you know, I try to head off every problem I can.
Okay, I like that. And I like how you have the short 2-page expectation sheet because it's not overwhelming. But then when it gets to the nitty gritty, it's the 10-page with signing off on each thing. So you actually know that they read each part in your contract. Because
and there have been a few people who all of a sudden, you know, after all those steps, you don't get a contract back. And you follow up with them. And it's then it all started to sink in. And I'm like, great, I'd rather you not sign that contract than me get into a bad situation with you.
So that's good advice. I hope designers, you're all listening to that. That you shouldn't take that as a bad reflection of your business. You should take it as, well, that's not really the client that I wanted. And thank you. Goodbye.
Yes.
And move on to the next.
There was a comment, there was somebody posted on the Ivy thing. I'm obsessed with the Ivy board, everybody, by the way. I love this like sharing platform and what everybody's doing. And I try to comment when I have something really good to offer, but you know, somebody had commented about they'd sent out proposals and they'd called back and and they're not getting a response. And I'm like, girl, walk away. Like, it's not for you. And I know that's really hard when you're eager and you're trying to get your business going, but it is okay to say no.
And I think that that's something early on in a lot of designers' businesses that they wish they would have known. But you always, in the beginning, are going to take on some clients maybe you shouldn't have taken on, get some photography that you need to start your website and get your business going. And then you look back and you're like, okay, I'm not going to make the same mistake again. And I'm going to have that 10-page, kind of sign off. And I think that that really will help you get your business to the next level and help you find that right client. Somebody asked really quickly, just because we're talking about it and I want to answer it. Can you re-explain how you split the discount? How do you bill hourly? What counts for billable time?
Okay, splitting the discount. Most manufacturers will give you an MSRP, especially upholstery. You know, when you're speccing out your fabric and it's got a grade and you come up with your MSRP and then you look at your cost. So for easy numbers, let's say the MSRP on something is $1,000, but my cost is $400. There's a $600 difference. So I split that $600. So I charge my client $700. So I made a $300 markup on what cost me $400. Where if you went by kind of the old school of, I mark it up 35%. A 35% markup on $400 is what, like 130 bucks? Where I just marked it up 300, and it sounds great to say you're splitting your discount. When some vendors don't give an MSRP, or if it's just something that we know you can find on a retailer, we'll Google it. I'll Google something and see, you know, West Elm, for instance, sells a lot of forehands, and I'll Google whatever I can find on that product, and we will use that as our MSRP against our cost.
That makes sense.
Billable hours, everything. I don't do a tiered pricing. There's not, I'm going to charge you this discounted rate for admin, or I'm going to charge you this discounted rate for travel time. My time is my time. And what we try to kind of time block, which we know it can be difficult to whatever. In my contract, I have it clearly outlined. Any and all time that we dedicate to your project, we track. Everybody has a little calendar book. We enter it into Ivy, and and that's how we track our time. I also have in there a clause that says at the end of every month, we will add on anywhere from 1 to 4 hours from admin time, which is those text messages and those little calls and those little things that you can't really measure. But I think everybody knows you get to the end of the month and you're doing all your billing and you're like, wow, Susie drove me crazy this month and texted me 57 times a day. She's getting a higher admin charge. And we are a little more, I'd say we're kind of more generous with our time. We're not attorneys. I'm not billing you every 2 seconds for every text message, but that's kind of how we measure it.
Okay. That makes sense. That's a good breakdown. So just key takeaway there, at the end of every month, have a clause in your contract, 1 to 4 hours, and then you can go back and you actually have all the text messages there. So if anybody ever said, you didn't spend this much time, you could actually back it up with that example if you ever get
yes. And, if I have to do a call with a client or a contractor, instead of on the call for like 30, 45 minutes, I'm going to log that in as actual time. If I'm talking to somebody for 5 minutes, I'm not.
Okay. That makes sense. And then what about with billable hours when it comes to procurement? Do you have like a set fee for procurement, or that's still on the hourly?
It's time. It's time. If we have to sit down and spend 4 hours placing all of our orders, then we're charging you for 4 hours.
Okay. And it's the same rate as the design rate, or is there a separate project management rate?
Nope, one rate. It just, the thought of trying to have all these different rates for different people at different, it would make me crazy. The fact is, they are not doing something for one client because they're doing something for you. So it's all the same rate.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And then have you ever thought about moving into like the flat fee structure, or you're like pretty set on like the hourly and you feel good about it?
I am now. I feel like through the course of the business, there's been an evolution. Here's the thing. If you charge a flat fee, you are going to get taken advantage of. Hands down, it's going to happen. So I have just said, I'm willing to give you my time, but you have to compensate me for it. With our construction projects, we do set minimums, and we do take retainers and deposits and things like that. Technically, it might be a little bit of a hybrid, but we're always tracking our hours and we're always billing it against whatever our minimum was.
Yeah, I love that. Because then you really understand your overall sense of profitability if you are tracking your time, and you're pretty accurately tracking your time so that you're not burning yourself on hours. But what if your client, and I think Molly just asked this question, which I was going to ask, is do you estimate hours? Like when you meet with that client, are you like, I think it will be this, or you're just like, this is what it is hourly. I can't tell you what the overall fee will be of your project because I don't really know.
Somewhere in the middle. Again, okay, so this again goes back to kind of setting expectations. And I will tell you that a big red flag for me up front is somebody who goes, how many hours? How many hours? How many hours? Well, how many hours is it going to be? We are a luxury industry. And the fact is, not everybody should be hiring an interior designer. And I have had clients who I thought I was going to take the job, and the next thing I know, it's how many hours, how many hours, how many hours? And I'm like, look, I don't wave a magic wand. This doesn't just happen. We work quickly and efficiently, but I don't know your story. We just had a client who had the most specific needs of a coffee table that Whitney's ever seen. She found it. The client took her time, didn't place the order. It's gone. It's discontinued. Whitney has to go back to the drawing board. She spent 4 hours looking for this coffee table, and the client came back to us and didn't understand, how could this possibly take 4 hours, blah, blah, blah. And me wanting to maintain a good relationship, I split it with her. I'm gonna charge you $2. That's a whole other conversation. But I set expectations up front, and I will say, in a normal situation, a living room is gonna take me 20 hours. But if you're somebody who wants to see 40 coffee table options, you're going to burn through hours. And so when I explain that to people, a lot is up to you. For the most part, they try to keep it under control.
Okay, one more question about the pricing. Most of the wholesale account pricing that I see are only about 35% lower than retail pricing. So by the time there's freight and shipping, there's not much of a margin left. Are those the same margins you're working with? And this question came from Hannah. No.
So she's not seeing best tiered pricing.
Okay. And that makes sense. And that's what we discuss. And that takes time to get and marching your little butt out to market and meeting with your vendors and telling them, what do I have to do? And that's that same example that you gave about sitting in late, getting to that 15,000, and then it will open up. There's a lot of different tiers of pricing from forehands to lead. Like, it's crazy.
Yes. And here's the thing. When I started opening up some of my accounts, I will give people things at cost. When I was opening my Lee order, I was like $2,000 away. And I had a client who could never afford an outdoor Lee sofa in the patio budget we were doing, but at wholesale cost, she could. And so I said, you know what? You've been a great client. I'm going to give you this sofa at cost. She was super happy, and I hit my minimum. And now I spend a fortune with Lee Industries. So
that makes sense. It's a win-win for everybody. So, question for you. Since your team and you really specialize in construction, can you offer some of the best tips to designers who have to work on their relationship with their contractors?
Find your people and foster that relationship. You guys are on a team. You're on the same team. And I just believe in treating other people the way that I want to be treated. And listen, I have gone toe-to-toe with contractors on job sites, but I will do that behind closed doors. Yeah. And we never do it in front of clients, but truly, you find the people that you want to work with, and those are the people that you recommend. I have gone into jobs. If somebody comes to me with a contractor, I'll work with their contractor. And I've gone into jobs where, they were just an absolute jerk to me for no reason. And I can go with the flow. I know how to just keep moving things along. And my position is that I'm there for the client. And renovation and construction is really, really stressful. And if they've got a jerk contractor, I will deal with it on the side. But for the most part, even if it's not necessarily renovation and construction, it's just any of your vendors, any of the people who you need to keep your business running, treat them well. And it's just like my team here. Your people will take care of you when you take care of them.
Maintain that sense of professionalism, because it's a small town. You never know.
Yes.
And those people are, even if they were hard to work with, one time they might have seen your value at the end of the project and been like, oh, and refer you. So I think the circle keeps.
Well, yes. And, speaking with construction specifically, we sometimes start working with new contractors. The contractors that we work with all the time love our process, because we hand them a nice big spec book with a bow on it, and it's like, here you go. And I get 800 phone calls a day. What do I do about this? What do I troubleshoot that? So you're a resource for them to lean on. It makes their job easier. And we, some of these new contractors, they've never experienced anything like this. They're used to homeowners. I don't know, what color faucet do I want? They don't have time for that. Yeah. So you take all of that off of their shoulders, and they will continue to want to work with you.
Totally. That makes sense. And really interesting question. Do you accept payments from contractors, cabinetry suppliers, countertop suppliers for specifying their product and their services, or do you let the contractor deal with all of that?
So when they say, do I accept payments from contractors, do they mean kickbacks? Like a percentage?
I think that's what she was. Well, there's two questions. Like, do you let any of that run through your business? Because if it runs through your business, then obviously you're liable. And then there's the second full question is like, do you take? I hate the word kickbacks, but like referral fee, like you person business.
Okay, so speaking specifically to referral fees, no, I do not, and they have been offered to me, and here is why. My payoff, we actually have a new contractor, for example. He's been amazing. I'm excited to work with him. And he came to me and said, hey, I work with so-and-so designer, and I give her 10% of whatever the job was. So he essentially marks at the bid 10% to give her that fee. That doesn't work for me. And I'm not judging her for taking that money, and good for you. You figure out how your business works. My payoff in working with people consistently is that I have good people to recommend to my clients. Mm-hmm. And I know the job is going to go smoother. Mm-hmm. My clients are paying me by the hour. Mm-hmm. I might be selling them product that I'm making money off of. So I don't feel the need to nickel and dime them. I don't want their bid getting marked up 10% so I can pocket that money, because I'm guessing that the designer isn't telling them that. And it goes back to me not wanting to do anything in my business that I couldn't say I was doing to their face. And I don't feel good about that. As far as materials, we recently had a major brand of tile and countertops, I won't say who they are, come to us because of the investment that I make in my photos and the content and the work that they're producing. And they said, we're giving you 50% off all of our product, hands down. Whatever you want is 50% off. And I could choose to mark that up or whatever and make a little bit money here and there. And maybe down the line I will, I don't know. But right now I pass that right on to our clients because what it's done is products that were, maybe tile that was unaffordable now isn't, and I can give them a better kitchen. And I in turn am creating better work and better portfolio pieces. So there's value for me in certain things that doesn't mean money in my pocket.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. It makes sense. Okay. Two more questions. I don't know why I'm echoing all this stuff. Do you hear it echoing? I think it's my computer. Okay, because we could talk on and there are questions. I just have two more questions for you. In your opinion, how has technology changed the way that you manage your business for the better in terms of sourcing, time management, project management, accounting?
Okay, so don't laugh, but I don't even log into Ivy.
I already knew you were going to say that.
I hire people to do that for me.
It's the luxury of having a 10-person firm, right?
It is hiring people who are in different places. I wear enough hats that I have a bookkeeper. I have a C, and you know my amazing husband who's in the tech world, and so he kind of leads the charge on that. But I can tell you from like a broad sense, I mean, QuickBooks Online, integrating with Ivy, and just all of these different things. I, to this day, have a giant handwritten calendar and a pencil. And that is how I run my calendar. And it makes my husband want to lose his mind.
I'm with Scott. I would die.
I think he might be watching and he's probably laughing, and I don't care. He actually has come into the firm twice to give us demos on properly using Google Calendar.
Poor Scott. I'm like, poor Scott. But Scott did come to Ivy Academy, and I think that, you know, something that I do that's really quickly I do want to touch in, because I know that this is a big topic, the receiving, the delivery. I think a lot of people get burnt on that. And I don't know if you guys know, but Layla's husband started a really amazing you can tell us all about it. But you also have Scott, who helps you with the technology piece of your business.
Oh, yeah.
Is your advice that everybody needs a Scott? Is that the advice that we're going to give to designers?
Marry Scott. You're watching, I love you. Marry Scott. Or if you can't marry a Scott, just find someone. We all have things that we're good at. And I believe in letting everybody operate in their highest and best use. And then you fill in the gaps on things that aren't your highest and best use. And that's what I've done.
And that makes sense. So talk to us a little bit about the shipping and delivery and how you guys are actually making more money by using and the business that your husband has opened. And because I think that that's a really big thing that designers don't know how to explain to their clients, the shipping, the delivery, the receiving, and why that is a huge chunk of money that has to be incorporated into that budget that you're giving to the client. And do you estimate, like, I mean, I know you have more than most designers, a good percentage of, like, is it 15% that you estimate of the total proposal or invoice that will go to shipping and delivery? How do you estimate that, and how do you incorporate that, and how do you talk to your clients about it?
So, number one, Scott and I were just talking about this. In the day of Amazon, where everyone has a box show up for what they think is free on their doorstep in 24 hours, explaining some of these frees, again, it's setting expectations. So, you know, I explain to people, and it's in the contract, they have to initial it. When I order you a sofa from Rowe or Lee Industries, they're not going to FedEx it by a drone to your front door. It is going to go, and I explain the whole process. It goes via freight service to the receiver, where they inspect it and unwrap it and blah, 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 and dispose and delivery. So we try to explain all of that. But what's interesting to me, so yes, one of the pain points in our business, in our industry, and I especially see it on the Ivy boards, is the receiving industry. The receiving industry has been in a technological hole. Our old receiver, who I am very grateful for all the years that I went with her, but she had no technology. If you went into her office, it was paper and a Sharpie, and our stuff was constantly lost and constantly not showing up right. And there was damage that never got reported, and we just couldn't deal with it anymore. So my husband and Whitney's husband have opened a receiving business. We are not enough to sustain their company. We do a tremendous volume. They are their own company, but we obviously are their biggest client. And I have been slowly introducing them to designers from Tahoe to the Bay Area, because they have heard our pain points, and they are going to offer a level of service that we would like to see. I don't want to see the delivery guys showing up with cigarettes hanging out of their mouth, going to a $2 million house to install furniture. So that's one end of it. But Scott and I were having this conversation. He goes, wow, this piece of furniture showed up the other day, and it took me 45 minutes to uncrate it and unwrap it. And I was like, wow, even I didn't really think about that. Like, I know what it's like. And I just think, I said, you need to tell that story. You need to time lapse, unwrap it. Scott's on social media, you know, he knows all that. I said, but you need to tell that story. The more that you help us tell the story and set expectations, then people will understand the human hands that are involved in touching all of this and why you have to pay these fees. And I don't mark up freight. Whatever it is what I charge. Mm-hmm. So as far as like estimating, we all know, you know, our vendors, you know, is it $160 typically for a sofa? Four Hands has a 10% cap on freight. So we're able to give like a roundabout idea. And so far it's been fine.
And I think that that's like a whole topic in itself, is just actually me, as much as I love you, interviewing Scott and just talking about the receiving process and giving designers the knowledge so that they can instill that knowledge within their clients. So then it makes sense to everybody. When something shows up in that wood crate thing and like undoing, I mean, it's insane. Like the amount of actual physical labor, and even what I was charging my old receiving company in San Francisco, they're amazing. I felt like I wasn't even paying them enough. And then when your client gets the bill, then your client, do you have a good percentage of what designers can charge? Let's say the bill is $1,000. Should their bill for receiving delivery, local delivery, be 15% of that? Or do you have to like figure it out each time?
We do a delayed charge. So we don't even bill them for that until we get the fee. I'll give them as best of an estimate as I can, but when we get the fee or the bills, then we invoice them exactly whatever it is.
Okay. But you give them some sort of idea that, hey, Risa, you're going to be having an extra $2,000 charge, but you don't actually collect.
Oh, yes, and that is, again, in our contract, it is all outlined.
And do you charge a markup on that shipping delivery, or is it just straight? Okay, interesting. I've seen it done both ways. Okay, last question, and then we'll get to a couple of the designers' questions. And I know we're running a little bit long today, but there's such good information, I couldn't even stop you. So give us your short list, Layla. What are the steps that you believe, just a couple, maybe 2-3 steps that you believe that you've instilled and that you can give as advice to other designers to really running a profitable interior design business?
Do great work. Number one, let your work speak for itself. And in the beginning of your business, your work won't be that great because you're probably working for lower budgets, but you work yourself up. Do really great work, spend money on photography to showcase your great work, because that's going to just keep leading to more work and more opportunities. And take care of your people if you have people, and kind of think about diversifying your revenue stream. What are different things that you can do within your business that will bring in money?
That makes sense. Okay, great advice. And there's so many questions. I'm going to pick maybe a couple questions. I'm just scrolling down. Wow, so many questions. And we'll make sure that we get back to you guys on your questions too, if we didn't already answer them, because you had some of the same questions I had when I was asking Layla her questions. Let's see. When did you, oh, here from Lindsay Borchard. When did you decide to host the pop-up shop and how did you start that?
Excuse me, because I'm out of my mind. And so like I said, I've been, this whole idea of retail has been appealing to me. And, you know, I kind of started looking like, do I open a store? What does that mean? Blah, blah, blah. We are designing a showroom at High Point Market this year for Row Industries, our main upholstery supplier. And a couple months ago, they invited us out to the showroom with, there's 2 other designers who are doing it as well. And one of them is Alice Lane Home. And I'm not sure, they're big, and they have an 80-person operation. And we had this wonderful dinner and we were all sharing information, and Alice Lane Home has a really big retail component. And she said to me, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't do a store. And that really resonated with me. And I was like, wow, if this person with this business at this level is saying that to me, I need to listen. And we all know that they're saying brick and mortar is dying. And I just thought, I need to reinvent what this could look like for us. And we were on our way to Vegas market, and I actually took Scott because I'm slowly bringing him into my world, and I wanted him to see what wholesale looked like. And we went to New York now, and my husband is super conservative fiscally. Like and he was on board for this. And we just started really purchasing a beautiful selection of things that you don't find in stores around here. You're not going to go to Home Goods and buy them. And that are very on brand. You know, we now are a brand. We have a look, we have an aesthetic. And I just felt like we had a big enough following that I wanted, and I spent a lot of money. It was a little scary, but I was all in, and Scott was all in, and we did it. And my team was amazing. And we turned our parking lot into a store, and it was beyond my expectations. So that's how that, yeah.
Makes sense. And then when you started in 2014, did you start out in just decorating, or were you already in the construction design kind of portion? Like, how did you really, because you said you didn't have experience necessarily in the construction, but how did you kind of?
I did. I was a project manager for Sacramento's, I think, second to largest house flipping company.
Okay.
and I was the project manager. So I had quite a bit of construction experience. So when I really started the business, I was working with some investors designing like nicer kind of higher end flips. And so that's really where I got my experience understanding construction.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I was decorating too.
And decorating too. Okay, so that makes sense. I actually didn't know your background before. I just like made it up in my head. Like I think I know everything about you just because I Instagram stalked you. So what was the biggest part in your business? I think that Casey asked this question of like, what was the actual pivotal point when you knew that you had to hire more people to sustain, or do you think it was just like a slow growth like you were talking about earlier?
If you are finding yourself not designing because you are doing paperwork, it is time. Okay. If you are finding that it is taking you 2 months to get invoices out to get paid, it is time.
Okay.
So that was the big one for me. I was like, okay, I'm not designing, therefore I'm not charging people by the hour so that I can do paperwork. So it would make sense that I hire someone to do the stuff that will allow me to go back to designing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's great. You need to make more time for design. And that's also kind of, I think, why you instilled Ivy, and you don't necessarily do Ivy, but you have a team that helps you manage the account, and you have Scott. And I think that that's really true is like, and I talk about it all the time, is when we want you to be doing, 90% design and 10% admin work, or, 80% design and 20% admin work. And when you see yourself pulled away from that, and that's really the idea of why we created Ivy. I used to work at an interior design firm, and I was managing all these crazy things, and my designers weren't billing their time. It was just kind of crazy.
Yeah, if you're not billing time, that's a problem.
That's a problem. And that's not really why you started this business. You started this business because you like to interact with your clients. You like to be on the construction site. You like to see the project, a house become a home. And if you're sitting behind a computer screen at 2 a.m., tracking your time, or for you, it's on a computer on your big calendar, writing down your time, then it's not a really efficient way to run a business. And if you're not at that 40% gross profit margin, then really, you should stop what you're doing, reassess your business, quit everything and think about it and be like, okay, what makes sense? And then you can start organically growing.
Yes. Don't force it. That's exactly it. Organically, don't force it. This was not the plan. In January 2014, I did not say, we're going to be a 10 team and we're going to do this. Nope. That was not the plan. I was like, there was no plan. So just let it happen.
And I think it's organic for you too, because Layla, you lived in New York City for 10 years, right? New York City, 12 years.
12 years.
Where I know everything about you. I still don't. But like going from New York to Sacramento, I mean, that in itself is a change, and finding that the tribe that you created, I think it's kind of refreshing to know that it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in a big city where there's product readily available. You could be in a smaller place. Sacramento is by no means a small city, but I'm talking to those designers that are in the Midwest that don't have access to Design Center. It still takes you 2 hours to get to the San Francisco Design Center, that you don't need those resources. It's on you to really make those relationships with your vendors and build out and find the clients that you want that will create that profitable business for you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I totally took the whole hour of our time. For those of you that want to learn a little bit more about Ivy, we're going to stay on for a little bit, 10 more minutes. And if you have any other questions for Layla, I will try to kind of recap in an email what we talked about. And Layla, thank you so much for all I learned so much.
I hope this is helpful for people.
Super helpful. I know that you get asked all these questions, and you're one person managing your Instagram. So if people are DMing you, you're not always able to respond, but you do a really amazing job of responding. And I think that's really what has personified your brand and led you guys to be where you are today. And if you're at High Point, definitely stop by. You guys have something going on at the Rose Showroom on Saturday.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the second year in a row that they did this. They've selected 3 designers to basically design a showroom within a showroom. So if you're at High Point, I mean, it's part of the showroom. So just go in. Our faces are there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Layla. And for those of you, Layla, you can go ahead and close out your screen. And those of you who are still on with us, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit about Ivy. We just want to show you how you can really leverage Ivy to manage your business in a more efficient way. As Layla said, she's fortunate enough that she definitely is not touching Ivy every day, but she has a team and she has an amazing husband who has really helped her progress her business forward. So first things first, and I love that Layla talked about this a lot, tracking your time, which you can do in Ivy, and we just launched our Ivy app, which we're really excited about. So you can track all of your time, even if you are billing out hourly, as Layla mentioned, even if you're billing out on a flat fee basis, I still think it's important to track all of your time so that you can understand your overall sense of profitability. So go ahead, you can either set the timer and it can track it, or you can just save the hours that you worked. And if you are doing a flat fee, you can just mark it as unbillable. And then you can go into your Ivy account and you can go ahead and create that billable invoice. Very easy to do. And the best part about Ivy is it's very user-friendly, very intuitive, and you can just click this button. It will grab all of your uninvoiced time, and you can create a time billable invoice that looks very branded, very professional, and it has all of the breakdown for you. And then your client can actually go ahead and pay you online. So it's easy for your client. They can pay you by bank transfer or by credit card. Very, very easy for them to go ahead and do that. They just simply hit pay now. It's a 3% processing fee for credit card and a 1.2% processing fee for bank transfer. And again, you can also take payment outside of Ivy. It's totally up to you, but this will just make your life so much easier because you're not tracking down, waiting for the money to come, waiting for a check, waiting, 15 days for that check to come in the mail. It just pops right into your bank account in 2 to 3 business days. And then your accounts receivable is down, your bookkeeper is happy, and you can pay your employees if you have employees. My favorite part about Ivy is actually the ease of use of creating that proposal. So just like I said, those percentages, we really want you to be designing 80 or 90% of the time and doing admin work 10 to 20% of the time. And the only way that's physically possible is if you have some sort of technology that's kind of acting as your virtual assistant. So right now I'm in a project, and in this project, I can go ahead and create my own proposal. So I can go to my vendor's website, and let's see, I found a beautiful chair that I want to source for my client. I have an Ivy Clipper, and the Ivy Clipper right here, it's just Nest on your browser. It's an extension on my Chrome browser, and it allows you right here, do you see how that hand turns blue? To click into the item, and I'm just copying, without copy and pasting, I'm just clipping the information right into my product right here. I can categorize it. I can add a cost and a markup. If you don't have a set markup percentage, I can say, okay, I want that to be $3,000, and it will calculate the markup for me. So it's really user-friendly. There is a way for you to put in your MSRP as well right here. And so then your client can see that amount as well. And you can just save it right directly to a project. You can put in the dimensions. All of the specifications are in here. And of course, what you want your client to see, your client will see, and what you want the proprietary information, the vendor to see, like the SKU, the manufacturer, that will only be seen by your vendor. So then I can save the product. And once I save that product, it actually saves into my Ivy product library so that I can go into my proposal. I'm going to create a new proposal. And the item pops up right there. Super easy. All I do is click on it, and it drops into my proposal. Now I can see other products that I've clipped, and I could type in sofa. So I could see all of the sofas that I have in my library. And I'm putting together my living room, let's say. I can see services. Maybe I have window treatment install. I can even add in a document tag right there so that I can easily find this. I can add rooms right here for living room. And when I save this, you can choose how much information you want to share with your client. In Layla's case, she's very transparent with her clients, which is lovely. And you can show that markup percentage to your client, or you can show that discount to your client so they can see what that item cost. And like if you split the discount, for example, and you can allow the client to view this. You can also allow the client to approve each item per line item. So there's less back and forth between you and your client. So you can see your client view right here. Your client would be able to see that markup. You can add attachments. Maybe you want to send your contract. Maybe you want to send that 2-page expectation sheet through here as well. And then I can send the proposal to my client. And I can also download my own customized tear sheets. I can do it with pricing or without pricing. Again, we at Ivy know that everybody runs their businesses very differently. So we try to create a system that's adaptable for the way that you work. As you can see, this is what the tear sheets look like, super branded, super professional. I've even used Ivy to make paint boards. I just clipped this directly from Benjamin Moore's website, so that all of the information, I saw Susan Winterstein posting something recently, somebody talking about, posting pictures to the outside of the home, not only like sending them a spec sheet and FF&E schedule, but also printing out what goes where with like specific instructions on like your tile layout. You could even use this and say, you know, this has the sheen, it has the color. You can tape it in each room so that the contractors, the subs, everybody's on the same page. You can't get it wrong if you have this taped up outside of that wall, right? And then from there, your client can pay the invoice, and you can actually create your purchase order directly within Ivy. So that's super helpful because then you can see your client expenses. You can really understand your numbers if you understand what you're spending for your client, where that markup comes, what you're charging for your hourly, and really understand, am I at a 40% gross profit margin? Now you have this beautiful purchase order that you can send directly to your vendor, and I guarantee you, you'll have great relationships with your vendors if you are sending them formal, organized purchase orders. We have vendors tell us all the time they love receiving POs through Ivy. And then we also give you can use Layla's method of her big manual calendar, but why not do it in Ivy? This tells you when everything's happening. It has to-do list items. You can see who's assigned to what. And then we also give you an awesome project tracker. So no more Excel, no more of that manual work. It creates this FF&E schedule for you within the system, and you can download that as a PDF, download it to Excel, send it to your receiver so they actually have a list of everything coming in. And I think you ladies and gentlemen had a lot of questions about receivers, so maybe we'll think about doing that as our next topic for one of these online events. But lots of benefits to using a receiver. Some vendors will only ship to a receiver. You don't have the option. So I saw that as one of the questions. But other than that, within Ivy, you can upload all of your vendors, all of your clients. In the vendor portal, you can actually save all of your vendor usernames and passwords as well, which is really helpful because if you have a team of 10, like Layla, even if you have a team of 3 people, you can add tags, you can add passwords. So people don't have to suck your time, your resources. I think why Layla has been so successful is that everybody's empowered and they're running the business as if it's their own little business within Design Shop Interiors, where everything doesn't have to get approved by Layla. They have access to everything they need to do to put together the design of a room, the design of a home. And then same thing with products. Once you clip something once, you might say, oh, I used that sofa, but I want to use that same sofa, but with a different fabric. So the sofa will already be, the structure of the sofa will already be saved as a product in your library. And you can just build out your proposal, put the sofa on there, and then pick the fabric. You can take a picture with your iPhone. It doesn't have to be clipped from a vendor's website. And you can build out that proposal. That will save you a lot of time and a lot of billable hours to your clients, the more efficient you are as well. Gives you less of a headache, and it's better for your clients. What Layla was talking about a lot, the Ivy board, is our Ivy Facebook group. So not only are we a business management tool, but we've created an awesome community. So if you are a member and you're not using Ivy yet, please make sure you join our Facebook group. Lots of really amazing conversation going on. We, of course, believe in community over competition. There's a wealth of sharing. People are sharing their contracts. They're sharing all sorts of really important documents that can save you a lot of time. And then, of course, we have our industry webinars where every Wednesday we're providing content for you. If you have any topics that you're interested in, let us know. We'll bring the content to you, and those are always free of charge with your Ivy membership. And then with your Ivy membership, if you're not using Ivy yet, I know this is a lot of information. We're doing a quick overview, but we definitely want to have a one-on-one session with you. We want to understand exactly how you're running your business. So Layla gave us some awesome tips and tricks, but get on a call with us. Tell us how you're running your business. Tell us what's working, what's not working. We'll give you a free complimentary walkthrough of Ivy. We'll get that scheduled for you. And then if you decide to try Ivy out, your first 30 days are essentially free because it comes with a 30-day refund. And then if you don't like it, no harm, no foul. But if you do like it, you'll also get a dedicated account manager that will show you how to use your Ivy account. They'll sit on an activation call with you. They'll show you how to import your client list, your vendor list, and really walk through how Ivy can really help change your business and help you get your business to that next level. So other cool things, and I talked a lot about outsourcing. You can outsource CAD through our Discover section. We have this 3D rendering portal where you can connect with designers that do 3D renderings if you don't have the time. Like Layla said, she has her junior designer that does the renderings. They're at a point in their business where they don't outsource that much, but maybe you don't want to take somebody on full time. This is a great way to be able to outsource, different sections, contractor, photographer, just other designers have worked with these. They've all been vetted through our system. So definitely give it a chance. Give us a call. I'm going to put in my information so that you can contact me directly. We are really excited and really want to help share Ivy with you. Not only Ivy, but really just our community as a whole. We've really created something that's super unique and not always, like Layla said, I wish I had this when I was first starting out my business because it's super helpful and I'm learning things every day that I didn't know. So please make sure you contact us. We'll set you up on your one-on-one session. And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. All right, bye now. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. We'll talk soon.